So I would not say that my plans have been foiled, but I think I gotta freaking start a damn petition. A couple of the cooler gyms right next to where where I'm kind of lifting at, on the weekends, shutting down at 6, right? Closing at 6 o'clock. What if I'm the kind of guy that wants to get a pump at 6:15 on a Sunday? Right? You're kind of screwing me here. Or is today? What day is today? Saturday. Even better. It just doesn't make any sense. Even the Planet Fitness, which is supposed to be like the 24-hour gym, dude, shutting down at 9? Not cool. Not freaking cool. And I'm actually kind of lucky. Right? The P-Fit close to me at least is 24-hour during the week. I've been to some where it's like 8 to 7 weekdays, and then the actual weekend is like noon to 5. It's crazy. I guess I just don't understand it. But that leaves one gym which I can guarantee will never disappoint you, at least in terms of their hours of operation, and that's the Anytime. That's an unsponsored statement. I'm just trying to get you on the know, because in my mind I used to think that if you got like a good P-Fit membership, you could bounce around wherever the hell you want if you're traveling or anything else, and like it'll always be there for you. But really, not exactly. Now the Anytimes are a little trickier because they're like individually owned and operated, right? Like it's a franchise kind of situation where, like, if you wanted to open your own Anytime, right, you have to use a bunch of their own stuff or whatever. But it's like, it's not a mandatory have this much stuff minimum kind of thing. Like I think I've never been to them, but I think every like LA Fitness probably has the same basic amount of equipment, or like, I guess you could say kind of stockpile of stuff. But the Anytimes, some are much better than others. I'll tell you there. So a little bit more of a surprise, but for the most part, I've never found one that wasn't open, because they got it's like a key fob kind of situation. So if you're the guy who's always traveling around for work or something, you're probably better off with that Anytime membership than the Planet Fitness one. Or be extra crazy, just get both. But yeah, so the reason I'm saying that is because the last chest day, I really liked the feeling of that old school Nautilus chest press. It was really kicking in for me. Just something about it, And it's like, excuse me. But that's why I would say, if you have a machine that like, all right, I don't really like this machine. It doesn't really work for me. It doesn't agree with my elbows, or just anything like that. Don't just take that as like a fact indefinitely into the future in your training, because shit, man, time's gonna pass. You as a lifter are going to change. You're going to get bigger. You're going to get more in tune with your mind-muscle connection. So maybe a machine that you couldn't really feel your chest on a lot before, now you can, because you've got a little bit more training experience. I used to be a total leg press hater for a little while. It was kind of weird. I did a lot of like regular sled leg press right when I started working out, and then I kind of stopped and more prioritized like squats. I was following for the Tom Platz propaganda, where he's like, leg press, but why? Why do an inferior movement? And I get the logic. I definitely think the squat is there's something to the squat for sure. But in my mind, I used to tell myself like, oh, I don't like the leg press. It just, I get a lot of glutes, I get a lot of whatever, because I probably was using my glutes a ton to push the weight. Whereas now, if you slap me under a leg press, I can really try to prioritize my quads more, and then only start to feel my glutes kick in like later in the set, So it's I feel like I'm just a better lifter, and now I like the leg press more. But for a while, I would say, Don't like it, do something else, right? So just keep that in mind, because some movements, they might not agree with you in the moment, but 3 months later, maybe. Or maybe you just didn't have the seat right, or you had it at a weird angle, or just on that day, it wasn't clicking. So I'm rolling up here to do some chest. I'm not sure what I want to start with, but let's say I wanted to do incline Smith. I mean, this is exactly what I did with my last chest day. I warm up, I get on the incline Smith machine, I do a plate for a few, I do 2 plates for a few. 2 plates was feeling just a little off. So I do another warm-up set, 2 plates into 25. I'm doing a couple reps, and post-show, still getting back into it. And I'm like, I don't like it. Incline Smith was not working. So even though I walked into the gym with the mentality of, all right, let's start with incline Smith, actually trying, I'm like, it doesn't really feel too good today. Let's start with something else. So that's getting into the kind of my mentality of being a little more kind of plastic with your approach to the workout. So it's not like you have to do this movement and then this movement and then this movement. Because if you're rolling in the gym, start warming up, and maybe your shoulder's a little funky, you might have had a heavy chest day planned, but odds are you might be better off just doing a lighter squeezing kind of cable workout, and that might not be exactly what you had planned, but you got to be cool with that, So what I'm trying to say there is, just if you can improve your, maybe not versatility is the right word, but maybe adaptability to your workouts, I think you'll be better for it. Plus, what happens if you walk into the gym, forget that it's Monday, you're getting yourself all hyped up to do some chest, and then boom, everybody's doing chest because it's Monday, and now you got to somehow rewrite your workout or work in with everybody, or so just don't be too locked into one specific machine. Because what happens if you walk in and the shit's broken, right? When are you just going to turn around at the door and leave? No, that'd be freaking stupid. But either way, I'm carved up. I've finished my cardio. I've taken a nap afterwards. I've got a reasonable, a reasonable amount of carbs in my system from a big ass breakfast, some bagels, had a bowl of Golden Grams, a little bit more tame as like a junk cereal, not so sugary as the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but that was kind of nice. And then a freaking bunch of water with electrolyte packets. So I feel as ready for this lift as I can be, and I can guarantee that within 45 minutes of starting my first working set, we're going to be sitting in front of the best lighting I can get my hands on in there, and probably saying, holy crap, never been this pumped before in my life, or something along those lines. But let's just stop talking about it and go get it started. Let's start with a light controlled squeezing set of seated chest press. Only 2 plates, so nothing crazy. So honestly, this might end up being a 20 rep set, but as a starter, still kind of working back up to heavier kind of stuff. This is just about perfect. I got my light tracks on shuffle, but nothing good is really popping out of the woodworks. Not cool. Yeah, those are good. Minimum one more. Maybe even two more here. Then move on to something else. Okay. One more. Let's add a 10 for this one. Make it a touch heavier. Okay. All right. Oh, let's move on. I've got a superset in mind. I was going to say pec deck superset it into this chest press. But honestly, that chest press doesn't really feel that good, so let's just stick with a straight up set of regular pec deck flies. Not too heavy, but moderate. I'd say we're working with moderate weight here. Oh, one more of those. Okay. Oh my gosh. Let's finish with some cables. I don't think there's room for blood in my chest right now. This very well may be the last set. Moderate weight. I'm going to bend over as such. Start with pretty controlled, like no swinging, no nothing reps. But as I get more fatigued, I don't mind getting a little nasty with it. I mean, this is the last set of the chest day. I want to get as much blood into my chest as possible. So in the beginning, I'll have a good hold, emphasizing the squeeze and the flex, really trying to make sure every fiber from bottom to top is going nuts. But at the end, I'm really just trying to make sure I can get as pumped as I can be. Then we can find some lighting, hit some side chests, and get in and go home. And I am ready to go to bed. After a meal, of course. Yep. Ah, goodness. All right. Yeah, that's good. And if you'll notice, I'm trying to keep my hands turned up, not like this. As soon as I start pressing this way, I get so much front delt, not even funny. This helps, but we're done. Let's post down somewhere. There we go. I'm using the more normal camera lenses today. Whenever the video looks a little funkier than normal, it's fun to mess around with some of the anamorphic lenses. It's basically like giving everything just a funkier kind of look. But let's just focus on making the cool factor of this the pose down itself. So what do you think? What do you think? Big reveal. Am I pumped? Am I unpumped? Am I somewhere in between? Do I have a big ass tattoo? That'd probably be that'd probably be the biggest surprise of all. No, I think we already know what the answer truly is. But let's actually get a glimpse and see for ourselves. Boy. So, still taking it easy, at least in terms of the weight. It's going to be a little while before I start just launching freaking 100-pound, 150-pound dumbbells around. But overall, pump-wise, I'm feeling reasonable freaky. Let's let me back up a touch and really try to up the freak factor. Oh, almost muscular. Very nice. Well, certainly got a good amount of blood flow. Oh, sweet. And I can almost guarantee that once I get back into the full swing of throwing some extra weight around, it should translate to some extra freakier chest pumps. Even more than right now. But I would call that a pretty solid start. So let's just get in the car and freaking scram. My girl just parked to pick up some Chipotle. She's got a dog in the car. She left it on, but it's not like it's hot out here, but yeah, look at him. Nice. But so obviously solid lift. We're getting back into the swing of things. But I just realized, so I just finished Back to the Future, Back to the Future 1. Never actually watched that before. I just realized I've never seen Terminator. I think I might have seen half of one of the more recent kind of sequels, but I've never actually watched the first one. That is up next on my list. I'm going to start that tomorrow during my cardio. How the hell can I sit up on a freaking panel with the man himself without actually having seen that? I mean, it's a freaking classic. But apparently, only so I've heard. Yeah, that's on my list. I feel a lot better watching stuff like that where it's actually like a legit movie rather than just Instagram scrolling. You know what I'm talking about. It's just kind of, I feel like you're killing time without really getting anything out of it, But there is one value to the scrolling on your phone and getting easily distracted, and that's that it makes cardio go by much quicker. Just a little tip. Not gonna turn this into a cardio rant. Just trying to put you on to something. All right. But either way, solid chest day, and I am ready to get some food into my system. What will that be? I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking I might go for some gruel. And what I mean by that, when I say gruel, is ground beef mixed with rice, mixed with some melted cheese, mixed with some barbecue sauce, all stirred up into a bowl. Classic bulking meal, at least for me. Now, of course, goodness. Of course, I'm not really, I feel like I'm halfway to a hiccup right there. Yeah, I'm not really making use of the value that kind of meal has But when it comes to bulking tips, I can tell you this. Tracking everything will make it easier to stay consistent. That should be obvious. Food scale, make sure you get your gram of protein for however many pounds you weigh, and then as many carbs and fats as is necessary. Usually though, I'd say you probably don't need to go over half of your protein value in fats. So I'm eating 250 grams of protein. I don't really think I'm making awesome use of fats any more than 120 or so grams. I'm more so leveraging my carb intake to stay fully carbed up and energized. It's kind of this is sort of a bro sciencey way to explain it. I'm sure somebody could be much more thorough, but it's kind of a little bit of a quicker sort of fuel source, as it were, right? Nobody's really bulking up on keto. Now, I'm not saying it can't be done or anything, but it's just doesn't really make sense for me, right? But if I had to give you a little tip, my numbers usually look like a gram per pound of body weight, half of that in fats, and then as many carbs as it takes to start gaining weight. So I'd say look up maintenance calorie calculator, plug in your height, plug in your weight, plug in your gender, plug in your activity level, plug in all the info it asks for, and it should pop out a couple numbers like maintenance weight, slight bulk, heavy bulk, slight deficit, heavy deficit, and just go from there. Now, it's not a perfect value, but it is a pretty decent estimation. It's just a good starting point, right? But track everything. If you go through that process and you say, okay, slight deficit is 200 grams of protein, 100 grams of fat, and 400 grams of carbs. Hit those values as close as you can get. If you go over, that's okay. If you go under a little, that's also okay. But you want to be right there on average for at least 2 or 3 weeks, right? So maybe pick the slight bulk or whatever, right? Whichever one makes some sense for you. But it doesn't really matter what your starting values are. Do that for about 2-3 weeks, and every morning after you go to the bathroom and before you've eaten or drinking anything, step on the scale and track that value. Have a piece of paper in the bathroom where you write your weight, plug it into your phone so you can turn it into a Google graph. I like doing that after a while because it looks kind of cool to see the actual data. But do that for 2-3 weeks and see if you notice a trend. Now, if you've gained 2 pounds, so your weight like day by day is going to look like this, up and down. But if you see on average you're going up about a pound or so a week, you're killing it. Keep going. Keep eating that much food. Keep your training up. You're literally bulking. It only takes 2 weeks, man. Holy shit, you're doing it. Now, what'll happen though is if you keep eating that same amount, eventually that weight gain will level off. Because the bigger that you get, even just on a few pound by pound basis of muscle, the more muscle you have on the frame or on your frame, the more energy that your body is going to take just to keep it, right? Like me just walking around doing nothing as a 250 pounder, I'm burning more calories to just stay this big and keep all my blood flowing and all my muscles oxygenated and everything. Like, it's taken much more energy for me to do that than for somebody who's like 180, right? He's just a physically smaller being. A damn whale is burning 1 million more calories than me just by existing, right? Because it's a bigger organism. So the bigger you get during your bulking phases, the more food you're going to have to eat. So that's where tracking your weight on the scale every morning comes into play, because that's an indicator of whether or not you're still progressing and you're eating enough food to stimulate and induce growth, or if you're not. So once you start to see that scale level off, that's your cue. Up your calories. And what I mean by that usually is just up your carbs, right? An extra 50 grams a day, an extra 100 grams a day. Ideally, probably prioritize simpler foods, potatoes, oatmeal, rice. It's just going to be better on you. Like, you can have some treats. I mean, I've been having some freaking Reese's peanut butter cups. Those have been doing me good, at least in terms of the fact that I like them. But that's not all my calories. I've been eating much more kind of potatoes and rice or so. And I'm still easing into it. I mean, this is just week 1. Really, I'm only kind of eating when I'm hungry right now. But as this bulk progresses, it's going to get harder for me to eat a ton of food. So simpler meals like that, they're just easier to eat. So let's assume that you've been tracking everything. You've got your macros ready. You've got some kind of macro tracker on your phone. You're gaining, let's say you gained 2 pounds over the last 2 weeks. Nice. Keep doing that steadily. And then adjust your carbs accordingly. You know, if your weight starts to slow down, throw an extra 100 grams in there, man. I mean, it's not that much. It is a little bit of a chore to start tracking it, but once you do, not only does it become a habit, it's more so it just becomes second nature. Because you should start to understand, like, oh shit, I'm not going to be gaining weight consistently unless I do all this. You know, so that's kind of where I'm coming from there. But in terms of the actual meals, like, once you've got all that in place, you are steadily growing. The meals themselves, I want to go down easy, right? And I'd say a perfect descriptor of what I mean by that is I want them to be freaking moist. So let's say you prepped a bunch of rice, you prepped a bunch of ground beef, you got 2 full salad bowls of, you know, 1 rice bowl, 1 ground beef bowl, which is really a freaking hack because it makes it so much easier to kind of just prep a meal right when you need it. I've never really been like a meal prep kind of guy because I've always had pretty close access to the kitchen. So for me to just prep like 5 pounds of ground beef, a ton of rice, a ton of potatoes all at once, and then just scoop them out and weigh them accordingly, that just works out for me. But if you want to make like individually packaged meals, you know, that's cool too. But what I don't want is to have to eat a bowl of real dry rice, plain, like just bland ground beef or turkey or chicken or whatever, and just have to sit there and gnaw on it, you know. And I've had meals like that, and it's just no fun. It doesn't go down that easy. So that's where keep some sauce at hand. I love, there's this kind of like buffalo, yeah, it's like a buffalo creamy ranch. Love it. Any kind of barbecue sauce of choice, love it. Mustard, ketchup, doesn't matter. Whatever gets you going, because a dry meal isn't going to go down as quick, and the longer that you spend eating, the more it's going to feel like a chore to keep eating, right? So I want these meals to go down quick. So something like this, like the ground beef with the rice, cheese, and kind of some kind of sauce, that concoction, as it were, which not even, it's just a bowl of freaking ground beef and rice, that goes down pretty quick because it's a moist meal. I don't have to sit here and like gnaw on it. It's not a chore to eat. And for me, you know, I can eat, I don't even know how many calories worth. Easy. Oh man. I mean, totally 1,000 calorie bowl with like 50, 60 grams of protein, 150-ish grams of carbs, like maybe 30 or so of fats or something. I'm pretty sure that's about 1,000, maybe a little less. But that goes down like nothing for me. So meals like that kind of focus on being reasonably calorie dense. Like I wouldn't want to try to eat popcorn as my carb source, because for me to get like even 200 grams of carbs of popcorn would be nuts. It'd be a freaking massive bowl, you know. So going for rice or potatoes or things that are much denser, it just makes more sense, you know. And don't be afraid of, you know, eating a little dirty, right? I mean, I'm gonna have some Wendy's on occasion, not the spicy chicken sandwiches though. It just doesn't agree with me, you know. Maybe a little bit of TMI, but once it actually gets through my system, yeah, it's not a, let's just say it's not a fun morning. Something about the spices, and it's so crazy. I used to eat like 4 at once when I was younger, like when I was lifting in the beginning, and I was just like, I don't know how old it was, like 16, 17. Like I'd slam 4 of those, it'd be no problem. So I don't know what, either something changed with the recipe or something changed with me, but I got to get the home style ones instead, you know. But there's definitely room for some food like that, and if it is necessary to eat some, you know, maybe more junk to put yourself over that calorie limit where you actually are gaining weight, then to a degree, right, and within reason, I think you're totally good, man. I mean, you're bulking. You're not sitting here trying to stay as lean as possible. If you're trying to really prioritize like a leaner bulk, like you really just hate the idea of putting on any excess body fat, and you're trying to just eat enough food to gain some muscle slowly over time, but not lose out on any of your leanness, then of course, being a bit stricter is going to benefit you. But for me, I don't mind. If I'm bulking, I'm bulking. I don't. And I mean, that's where it comes down to just a personal preference kind of thing. Like, I'm sure I could gain weight pretty slowly, fine, just doing like totally plain, perfectly clean bulking diet. But I don't think I'm missing out by throwing some treats in there every now and again. And it makes it more fun for me, because afterward, like, 6, I don't know how many months from now, once this bulk ends, I'm going to be so sick of food. It makes it so easy to start dieting down, because I've eaten so much, like I've gotten my fill, as it were, So for me to start tightening up, go from, regular treats, or like, even a freaking little bowl of cereal today, to once I try to diet down again, totally locking in, super clean diet, no, minimal cheating at least. That's just kind of how I like it, It's sort of kind of the two sides of the moon, as it were, right? I'm either bulking or I'm cutting. And no matter which one I'm doing at the time, I want to go hard with it and make sure I get as much out of it as I can. So that's kind of my thought process there. But of course, I have to add this: bulk responsibly and keep cardio in your freaking routine. Because the last thing I want to see, or I would imagine for you too, maybe not you, but somebody out there who's trying to bulk up, you don't want to give yourself a complete like chore, or like dig yourself into a hole, because now you have to take off like 30 pounds of body fat that you put on because you did like a seriously overdone dirty bulk, because the whole point is you're going to cut down and reveal the gains that you just got. So like, keep that in mind, right? Bulk within reason. Don't overdo it calorie wise and just think to yourself, oh shit, man, I'm bulking, I'm gonna eat purely just complete trash and everything else, because it's kind of up to you to be able to undo that, right? So treats within reason. How about that? That's my mantra for this bulking phase. Treats within freaking reason. All right. But plan for tomorrow with back. Try to freaking pump up my lats so much that I rip my shirt in half right down the middle. Do I think that'll happen? Maybe not. But am I going to go into it hoping that it will? You're gosh dang freaking right. But that's all I got there. So I'll just see you for some back action tomorrow.